Hello again. This time we're going to be going over the computer update project. We'll talk about the different pieces that you put into the PDD, the WBS, the PS, and the project plan. Next week I'll post a visual review of the project plan, much like I did for the meeting project, so that you can compare and make some revisions if needed. Most of all, I want you to make these projects your own, but I do want you to include the required information. As I'm reading some of your materials, I'm noticing that you may have overthought this project a little bit. Yes, I did create it as a bit of a brain teaser, but there really was an easy answer. Did you catch it? Let's take a look. We'll review the computer project by walking through the project definition document. So we start with the project title, and that would be Microsoft Office Update. The purpose is to update the computers in the 3 buildings. I think there's 92 computers altogether. Goals and objectives are to be able to complete the update within the time frame provided, given the limitations that are in place. Success criteria would be everyone's happy with the resulting work. So the project context, keep in mind the context is how does it fit into the bigger picture. So updating the computers, it has to be done before fall term. So the context is time limited. You have to work around things that are happening, whether it's current instruction, updating buildings, upcoming terms, limited hours. So there's other things that are going on that you have to take into consideration. They're part of the decision-making factors. What are some things that you're dependent on in this project? Well, you're dependent on the update to work properly on the computers. You're dependent on your interns getting the work done according to the schedule. You're dependent on classes not running over. That was something that a student had listed this term. That was a good catch. Something someone else had listed when they submitted their PDD for this term was that it took longer to finish the building changes. And that's something that you're dependent on. You're dependent on that happening in the timely manner. In scope is updating the computers. Out of scope is installing QuickBooks for the instructor. To be polite, you would submit a separate work ticket for that so that someone else could work on it and let him know, so that you're providing good customer service, but you would not put that as part of this project. Assumptions are that the electricity is working and things like that. Once again, constraints are things that will happen that you have to take into consideration. Risks are things that may happen. So a class running long is something that may happen. The fact that the class is scheduled till 7 in the evening is something that will happen, so that is a constraint. You run the risk of a student not showing up during their assigned schedule. The constraint is that you know they can't work more than a couple of hours a day. Your preliminary budget is the cost that it takes them to update the computers, and if they're being paid $10 per hour and you can do 6 computers in an hour, how much is it going to take to pay them? What anticipated resources do you have? Well, you have multiple copies of the update so that they don't have to share it between themselves. Someone had a good catch that you had the licensing requirements in place for the campus-wide update with Microsoft. Primary stakeholders would be the interns, And secondary stakeholders would be everyone else. They are all impacted by the update, but as far as the actual work of putting the update in place, it's just your small group. Available approaches. Well, that's where the brain teaser comes in. Yes, I gave you a lot of constraints to work around. So your available approaches could be that you're going to have them work 2 hours here and 2 hours there and 2 hours here, and you end up fighting with it. Well, here's the secret. And when we did the update at Treasure Valley, this is what we did. We had the students start after the class was done in the evening. So in this case, the class is done. You could start them at 7 and have them work till 9, 2 hours in the evening. It takes about 3 or 4 days per lab, so do 1 lab a week and you're good to go. And you can have 2 students work on the 3rd lab on the last week and cut the days in half. You may have 1 student or 2 students working in the same lab in each day. It doesn't matter to me. It's just what matters is that you're taking the details into consideration. And then as you're looking at the available approaches, well, maybe your recommended approach isn't to do it in the evenings, and that's fine, because you don't want to tie up the students' evenings. Maybe you want to be able to have the computers down or something. So you prefer to schedule during the daytime, and you're going to fit it into different time slots throughout the day. That's fine too. Whatever recommended approach you choose is your decision as the project manager. The easiest way, though, is in the evenings after everything's done, so that you just go from computer to computer. But whatever you decide is entirely up to you. And then you'd get of course, the signatures if this were an actual project. In your project description, I included a sample Gantt breakdown to give you an idea of what you might want to do to set up how you're going to do your labs. You can break it down by computer and have 92 separate lines, computer by computer, like it is here. Or maybe you'll just do lab, Hepworth Lab computers 1 through 15 on such and such date, 16 through the other half on such and such date, or however you decide you want to break it down, just so that I can see that you have it limited to those 2-hour segments per day, so that it isn't breaking your budget, and it's complying with that. And then in your project plan, of course, you would develop your staffing plan and your project schedule, and that would be a separate line item. So that would be something in your project plan that student worker 1 is doing this group of computers on this day at this time, and this group of computers on this day at this time. Once you have your staffing plan ready, well, then you're ready to go to step 4, which is to create your project plan. It's the same idea as the meeting project, is just a little bit more detailed. So this plan with its cover page and table of contents will likely be probably 9 to 10 pages, because you're going to have more detailed information for what the students are going to be doing for each one of the labs. And so I look forward to your submissions. If you have questions, let me know. Thank you very much.